Dave Rennie has praised the character of his All Blacks side after New Zealand survived a thrilling 41-35 victory over the Lions at Ellis Park, while also giving his verdict on the long-awaited return of Richie Mo'unga and explaining why the team will not call up a replacement for injured rookie Anton Segner. The match was anything but straightforward for New Zealand. The All Blacks created plenty of attacking opportunities, but the Lions repeatedly exposed gaps in their defense and took advantage of a fast start in both halves. At one stage, New Zealand found themselves 35-17 behind and facing the possibility of a damaging defeat. Instead, Rennie's players produced a remarkable response. 4 unanswered second-half tries turned the match around and eventually secured a 7-point victory. For Rennie, the result demonstrated something particularly important about his squad: resilience under pressure. The Lions got off the fly at the start of both halves, Rennie said after the match. I think our boys showed a lot of character to fight our way back into that. The All Blacks had plenty of attacking statistics in their favor. They dominated areas such as defenders beaten, line breaks, and offloads, but their execution was not always as accurate as it needed to be. Rennie admitted that his players sometimes made the game more complicated than necessary. At certain moments, the All Blacks attempted ambitious missed passes when simply moving the ball through the hands could have been more effective. That will be an important lesson before the remaining test matches of the tour. Against the Lions, New Zealand were able to recover from their mistakes. Against stronger opposition, particularly the Springboks, the margin for error will be much smaller. Still, Rennie was pleased with the way his team handled the pressure. At 35-17 down, the crowd was fully behind the home side and the Lions appeared to have control of the match. Yet New Zealand remained composed, continued attacking and eventually took control. That comeback also provided the perfect stage for Richie Mo'unga to make his return to the All Blacks jersey. The fly half had not represented New Zealand since the 2023 Rugby World Cup final against South Africa. His return had been one of the biggest talking points surrounding the All Black squad, particularly after he committed to returning to New Zealand. Expectations were naturally high. However, Rennie was careful not to put too much pressure on the returning star after one appearance. I think he had a lot of nice touches, Rennie said. He'll be better for that time on the park. The All Blacks coach explained that Mo'unga's challenge is about much more than simply putting on the number 10 jersey. The fly half must rebuild his connection with teammates he has not played alongside regularly. It's not just about him jumping into the 10 jersey, but it's the connection with everyone around you that you may not have played a lot of footy with, Rennie explained. That may be the most important point surrounding Mo'unga's return. His talent and experience are well established, but test rugby is heavily dependent on combinations. A fly half needs to understand the timing of the halfback, the positioning of the forwards, the movement of the midfield and the running lines of the outside backs. Those relationships cannot be rebuilt instantly. The Lions match therefore represented an important first step. Mo'unga received valuable minutes, experienced the pressure of playing international rugby again and began rebuilding those connections. For Rennie, the performance was encouraging without being the final verdict. We're really pleased with his contribution. He'd be better for it, he said. That suggests supporters should expect Mo'unga to continue improving as the tour progresses. His return is not simply about recreating the All Blacks team of the past. The current squad has different players, different combinations, and different tactical demands. The goal is to integrate Mo'unga into the current team and discover how much influence he can have. That process could become increasingly important as New Zealand prepares for its remaining major challenges. While Mo'unga's return was a major positive, the All Blacks also received disappointing injury news involving Anton Segner. The 25-year-old forward was originally expected to provide an option from the bench during the first test against the Springboks, but he was a late withdrawal. Further assessment revealed an ankle joint infection, requiring a surgical procedure in Johannesburg. Rennie confirmed that Segner underwent a small operation to wash out the infection. Unfortunately, the young forward will not recover in time to play in the remaining test matches. He had a little bit of keyhole surgery just to wash out an infection, Rennie explained. He will come with us to Cape Town, but he won't take part in the rest of the tour. For Segner, it is a frustrating setback at a crucial stage of his international career. But Rennie has decided that the All Blacks do not need to bring another player into the squad. The coach believes there is already enough depth among the remaining loose forwards. We feel that now that we're beyond the midweek games, we've got enough loose forwards to pick from, Rennie said. That decision immediately increases the importance of the players already in camp. One player who has given the coaching staff plenty to think about is Ethan Blackadder. The Crusaders' loose forward produced one of the standout performances against the Lions, scoring twice and contributing heavily across the field. He carried the ball. He made tackles. He supported attacking movements. He competed for possession. And he maintained an impressive work rate throughout the match. When asked about Blackadder's performance, Rennie admitted that he wanted to review the match in detail, but his initial assessment was extremely positive. He was all over the park, Rennie said. He got his hands on a lot of ball. He carried a lot for us and made a lot of tackles and support play. The coach also highlighted Blackadder's work rate. He's got a big engine, Rennie said, describing the veteran loose forward as a player who had a massive impact on the game. That performance could create a serious selection discussion. The All Blacks need loose forwards capable of dealing with enormous physical demands, particularly against South Africa. They need players who can carry, tackle, compete at the breakdown and continue working late in matches. Blackadder demonstrated many of those qualities against the Lions. But one strong performance does not guarantee selection. The coaching staff will consider the full picture, including combinations, tactical requirements, and the specific challenge posed by the Springboks. That challenge will be considerably tougher. South Africa have the physical strength and tactical discipline to punish mistakes. The All Blacks cannot expect to recover from another huge deficit simply by producing a late comeback. That makes the lessons from Ellis Park particularly valuable. New Zealand showed that they have character. They showed that they can score tries when under pressure. They showed that they can remain composed in difficult circumstances. But they also showed that they need to improve their starts and make better decisions with the ball. For Rennie, the goal now is to take the positives from the victory while fixing the weaknesses. The attacking statistics suggest the All Blacks have plenty of potential. Their line breaks, offloads, and defenders beaten showed that the attack can cause serious problems. But execution has to improve. Instead of forcing ambitious passes, New Zealand may need to become more patient and allow the defensive line to create opportunities. That is an area where Mo'unga's experience could become valuable. A fly half's job is not simply to make spectacular plays. It is also to control the rhythm of the match, recognize when to attack, and understand when patience is the better option. The more time Mo'unga spends with his teammates, the more comfortable those decisions should become. The All Blacks therefore have several intriguing storylines developing at the same time. Mo'unga is rebuilding his connection with the team. Blackadder is pushing for greater responsibility. Segner has been ruled out for the remainder of the test matches. And Rennie has decided that the existing squad has enough depth to move forward without an emergency replacement. The victory over the Lions may ultimately prove more important than the final score suggests. It tested New Zealand mentally. It tested them physically. It exposed weaknesses. But it also demonstrated resilience. When the All Blacks were 35-17 down, they could have lost control of the match. Instead, they produced 4 unanswered tries and turned the contest around. That type of comeback can build belief inside a team. Players learn that even when the scoreboard looks dangerous, the match is not necessarily lost. But the next challenge will require more than belief. It will require accuracy. It will require discipline. It will require better decision-making. And it will require stronger combinations. That is where Richie Mo'unga's return becomes particularly interesting. The first match was about getting back onto the field. The next matches will be about establishing his role. Can he control the game? Can he build a strong partnership with the players around him? Can he provide the calm decision-making required under pressure? Those questions will be answered through performances, not headlines. For now, Rennie is happy with what he has seen. The coach has not suggested that Mo'unga is instantly back to his best, but he has made it clear that the fly half made a positive contribution and should benefit from the minutes he received. That measured approach is sensible. The All Blacks do not need to rush the process. They need to build the right combinations and ensure every player understands his role. The same applies to the loose forward battle. With Segner unavailable, the remaining players have a bigger opportunity to make their case. And after his two-try performance, Blackadder has certainly put himself into the conversation. The next step is consistency. The All Blacks cannot rely on one outstanding performance. They need players who can deliver repeatedly when the pressure rises. The biggest tests of the tour are approaching, and the standard will only become higher. The Springboks will provide a completely different challenge from the Lions. New Zealand will need to be more controlled from the opening whistle. They will need to defend with greater consistency. They will need to value possession. And they will need to avoid giving the opposition easy opportunities. If they can make those improvements while maintaining the character they showed in Johannesburg, the All Blacks can take plenty of confidence into the next stage of the tour. For Dave Rennie, the Lions' victory was therefore both a win and a warning. It was a win because the All Blacks found a way to overcome a 35-17 deficit. It was a warning because the same mistakes could be punished much more severely against the world's best teams. For Richie Mo'unga, it was a successful first step back into international rugby. For Ethan Blackadder, it was an opportunity to remind the coaching staff what he can offer. For Anton Segner, it was an unfortunate end to his playing involvement on the tour. And for the All Blacks as a whole, it was another important lesson in the process of building a team capable of handling the biggest challenges. The message from Rennie is clear. There is no panic. There is no need for an additional replacement. There is no reason to make dramatic conclusions after one match. Instead, the All Blacks will continue building. They will continue developing combinations. They will continue competing for selection. And they will continue learning from every performance. The 41-35 win over the Lions was dramatic, entertaining, and at times uncomfortable. But it gave the All Blacks something extremely valuable, another chance to learn before the pressure becomes even greater. Richie Mo'unga is back. Ethan Blackadder is making his case. Anton Segner will remain with the squad but will not play again on the tour. And Dave Rennie now has to turn those individual developments into one strong team. The real test begins with what happens next.